On Halloween in 1918, the once great empire of the Ottoman Empire finally fell. Hi, I'm Leader Beller. You know what's super fun? The fall of the Ottoman Empire. Well, maybe not so much for the people, actually at the time living there, but the Ottoman Empire fell mostly because of external forces, military decline, internal revolts, and economic problems. A whole lot of extraordinary stuff.
Hi, I'm Long Green, and welcome to Engineering of Doing Seminar. Leader was right about how fun most of the external forces were, but most of the problems surrounded around the Europeans and their yummy tea. And the Europeans took over a lot of land while the Ottoman Central Power were dealing with their internal problems. The Russians were rushing to take over the Caucasus and Central Asia because the Ottomans didn't defend the borders too well. Also, over in the western crevice of the empire, the Austrians nibbled away at the western frontiers because they were also poorly defended. Napoleon invaded Egypt, which was one hard oof for the Ottomans. Napoleon ended up abandoning his entire army. Little did he know that he left Egypt in a state of chaos and rebellion. In the midst of all the mayhem, one true leader emerged. His name was Muhammad Ali. He built an army inspired by European standards, and he also drafted peasants as soldiers and brought over French and Italian officials to train his forces. Muhammad established himself as a leader of Egypt, essentially the most powerful region in the Ottoman Empire, and created one. He also created a self-governing system.
You know what's even groovier than external problems? Internal problems. What's better than your own people revolting against you? Literally everything. There was a ton of nationalist reforms that happened throughout the Ottoman Empire. One of the movements was the Tanzimat movement. The movement was basically a more radical form of the Enlightenment movement. It drew inspiration from Enlightenment and Western ideas from Europe. Reformers used the French legal system as a guide to recover Ottoman sovereignty and make their government acceptable to Western standards. Because who wants anything to stay the same, right? People of the movement also spread a commercial code, a penal code, a maritime code, and a new civil code, along with newly issued decrees that protected the rights of the citizens. There were also education reforms that established primary and secondary education, leading up to education at a university, and later made primary education free. Many religious conservatives opposed the Tanzimat movement. They argued that it was destroying Islamic foundations of the empire by extending legal equality to religions such as Christians and Jews. No one can have what they want. Do what I say. There were also oppositions to the Tanzimat movement from within the bureaucracy. Many high-class bureaucrats wanted to impose checks and balances on the Sultan by using a British-style constitutional government. One last group that opposed the Tanzimat movement was the Young Ottomans, who also desired a constitutional government. The Tanzimat movement was huge during the fall of the empire and added a lot of territorial losses because it inspired revolts throughout the Ottoman land. Some places that bounced out of the Ottoman Empire were Greece and Serbia, who had large nationalist uprising and became independent Balkan provinces.
Economic issues were a very common oops of declining empires of this time period. The trade declined because basically the Europeans broke up with them and got a new girlfriend called the Atlantic Ocean maritime route to the Indian Ocean. No longer were the Ottomans the middlemen of trade between Europe and Asian countries. The trade then primarily moved to the Atlantic Ocean. The Europeans penetrated the Ottoman Empire by transporting more of their quality goods to the Ottoman Empire, which were cheaper and more reliant. The Ottomans then traded their raw materials, but were unable to equal the amount they were spending on the choo-choo trains. The Ottomans slurped up their revenues and fell into humongous debt.
To
get out of this debt, one approach was to create capitulations. These were agreements that exempted the European visitors from the Ottoman laws. This was a huge part of the downfall because it presented the Europeans to basically govern their people. Without any attention to the Ottoman ruling, the Europeans didn't have to pay tax, which caused a lack of funds for the very expensive bureaucratic system. They also couldn't pay the royal household and eventually led to corruption.
Later, there was a guy named Sultan Selim II. Now, Papa Selim remodeled the army to be more European so that they wouldn't fall behind the other European powers. This made the Janissaries, who were rich elite dudes, pretty mad, and they went in and killed all those newly trained army guys, and all male members of court except Muhammad II. So his cousin, Muhammad II, got really spicy and restored the traditional Ottoman military and killed all the Janissaries that murdered everyone. He made a whole bunch of beneficial reforms like secondary education, but in the end wasn't able to prevent the inevitable demise of the Ottoman Empire.
The changes that occurred in the Ottoman Empire during the Industrial Revolution allowed for breaks to occur in the relative equalities that held all of the states together during the Agrarian Age. The empire wasn't able to adapt or develop at all to these changes, with the industrialization and westernization causing it for them to earn the name of the sick man of Europe by the 19th century. The Ottomans were not able to go through the process similar to the Great Western Transmutation due to their lack of resources and the climate in the region. Another effect of why they couldn't westernize was because of the strong old Islamic beliefs present in the empire, so they weren't able to cope with the new factors of transmutation and industrialization. They had very strict conservative beliefs, and it had a large impact on their lack of westernizing, which was a large leading factor into the fall of the empire.
So to sum everything up, the Ottomans fell from failed military reverses, challenges to its rule, the inability to stop economic European penetration, not stopping the territorial dismemberment. The regeneration of imperial vigor was lost, the loss of Egypt's territory, the Europeans taking land from the north and the west, pressure from ethnic, religious, and national groups, and the inability to industrialize and mass produce the much needed weapons and supplies that were required of European power to stay in power. Hi, thank you for watching. I'm Leader Beller.
I'm Lana Green.
I'm Stan. And I'm Megan.
Please like and subscribe.